everyone, it's Jake at Jake's Metal Chat. Hope you're all well, and welcome to episode 8 of my Metal Vault. If you watch my videos, you know what I will be showing in this series. It's so much excellent metal from the 1980s and 1990s, be it heavy metal, thrash metal, death metal, black metal, doom metal, sludge metal, folk metal, all that excellent stuff. And I have here, right beside me here, another absolute banger. And it's some excellent underground thrash metal from 1987 from a band out of Bayonne, New Jersey. And without further ado, I am going to show you the band and the album. All you veterans out there will know this band, but for anyone else who has been listening to thrash but hasn't come across these guys yet, well, here they are. This is Blood Feast and the 1987 debut, Kill for Pleasure. And what an album this is. Just excellent, intense underground thrash metal from 1987. This is their debut. And what a debut it is. And there's a lot I'm going to talk about. There's a lot of things I'm going to be talking about with this album. Of course, this band split up. They formed in 1986, but formed in 1985 as Bloodlust, but then changed it to Blood Feast in 1986. So became this band in 1986. Recorded this album, which came out in the year of 1987. Then they had their second album in 1989, Chopping Block Blues, and then in 2017, so 10 years after they properly reformed as this band once again, they released The Future State of Wicked. And there we go. Now, if you are a massive thrash metal fan, of course, all you veterans out there, all you hardcore thrash metal maniacs out there, you're going to have this in your collection. But for anyone brand new, you got to get this. You got to listen to it. Wherever you listen to music, just stick it on, play it from start to finish. You're not going to be disappointed. And why I say intense thrash metal for a reason. And what I get from this is Kreator, obviously. That'll be a band that comes to mind when I think like really intense underground sounding thrash. It's got that Kreator feel to him, that Kreator-esque. But then there's other bands like, for example, bands that are similar in that intense raw sound, like Deceased. And also I get a bit of like early Exodus in this as well. It's more like from like Bonded by Blood, but obviously they just taken bits and pieces from bands that they like and they just made something so raw, intense, pretty much just in your face. And this is it. And the artwork is really cool. It was done by a man called, let me get him up, Drew Elliott, who has done artwork for Amorphis, Deathhammer, Decada, Ex Mortis, Gorephobia, Midnight, Necrophagia, who else? Nunslaughter, Phantom, Postmortem. A lot of you underground metalheads out there like, know that band, know that band, know that band. I'm like, same thing. And just I don't know how many more words I can put into this album, but it's intense. But yeah, I definitely get more of a Creator-esque vibe in this, but turned up to like, trying to put a number on this. Like, it's turned up to like, Creator's like turned up to like, say, because I love Creator. They've turned it all the way up to a certain number, and these guys just did something, and they turned it all the way up, and it'll get you just banging your head. It'll get you just doing all that, bang your head and just getting really into it. And that's what you want from an album such as this, and more underground albums such as this, be it thrash or death or black metal, sludge metal, anything that's just heavy and raw. That's why I'm trying to show more classic ones like this, but the more underground albums that people do not know about. I have a lot more coming up that people will know, but they're all going to be other fans of metal who love the death metal, the thrash, and so on, that won't know these albums. And that's why I'm showing this one for anyone not familiar with Blood Feast. Well, of course, there's going to be a lot of you veterans out there looking through your collection and saying, oh, I have this on vinyl or on CD or even cassette. I found this at a record fair here in Bristol back in 2019. I saw it. I thought, yep, taking that. And this is before I even had a record player, so I couldn't play it on anything for a while. And when I put it on, played it, plays beautifully. Absolutely just raw, intense, underground thrash metal. Timeless masterpiece. I have said this about so many albums before. Now, there's something about this band here, and let's get it back up. There was an album in between this one and the 1989 album Chopping Block Blues called The Last Remains. And I think that was supposed to come out right after this, like a year after this. That's basically my assumption. Could be wrong. Like somewhere like either early, mid, or maybe later in the year. But Adam, who was, let's get him up, because the picture on the back has him, well, I think they got the names kind of mixed up with the people on the back. I'm not sure. But the picture I'm looking at is him with, that's him there. The picture I'm looking at on IMDb, so it matches up, was pretty much, they recorded the album, but he left like after it was done. So that album has pretty much not seen the light of day, like at all. It's not seen the light of day, and that's a shame, really, because I would love to have heard that. So just because that's how the back's laid out. So apparently, lose that one. Adam is that one, so I think they got the names a bit mixed up, but that's okay. So they did the album, and it got scrapped because Adam left. And of course, the other reason was they weren't happy with the production. And of course, some of the songs were later released on a compilation called Last Offering Before the Chopping Block. So some songs will be on there, so you've got the compilation. So yeah. So that album didn't come to be. So after this album, they did the Face Fate EP that same year, and then 2 years later, the 1989 album came out, and of course, 91 disbanded, reformed in 1999 for a one-off show in okay, it's not coming up because some things are being a bit stupid, but yeah, I'll wait until I can get it up. Also, I use IMDb. Here we go. Played a one-off gig at the March Metal Meltdown in Asbury Park, New Jersey in 1999. So I ever went to that, you got to see some excellent underground thrash. And of course, reformed in 2007 and have been together ever since. Of course, 10 years later, released their last studio album, which I need to get around to listening to and hopefully find one. I need to find, Chopping Block Blues in that one as well. But it would have been good to hear the album after this. I mean, I like the raw production on it anyway. The vocals are going like borderline into what you were hearing Death Thrash. Coming from Gary right there. And it's just an amazing underground album that a lot of people need to know about, because this album would have been overlooked because you had bands like Metallica releasing albums and Megadeth and Anthrax and Slayer and all those big bands that everybody knew about in like Kerrang magazine when that was still a good bloody magazine. And but I don't think bands like this got mentioned in places like that. They would have got mentioned in like smaller van scenes, and that's when people would have found out about them. I found out about these guys because I was just looking for new bands to listen to, like more in death and thrash and so on. And these guys popped up, and of course heard the title track of the album and was instantly hooked because it's just the absolute banger. And I know I say absolute a lot, but it is absolutely one of those things. It's sick, it's raw, it's intense. And if you're into that sort of stuff, you're going to like this band. And I always try to find more bands who sound like this, because when I heard them, I thought, well, this band's like raw and intense. I got to find more bands like this, either from that decade of the 80s or even in the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, even now. Because I know there's going to be a lot of thrash metal bands that would have taken a lot of influence from bands like these guys, and like Blood Feast, like taking infinite influence from Blood Feast, sorry, and Demolition Hammer behind me there. And like let's take some of the Demolition Hammer, let's take some Blood Feast, let's take just so like just going through the catalogue of say Blood Feast and Demolition Hammer, who else, Deceased and Possessed and Sadist and bands like everything. Like, let's take little bits and pieces from those guys and let's just make our own sound. And they would have done that back in the day, these guys, and be like, let's take bits and pieces from the bands that we like, and and that. So what they would have taken influences from, they wrote some excellent songs. They made an excellent album, and that's enough said on this. For you veterans, dig it out again, listen to it again, and let me know what your first impressions were of it, because I would love to hear that from everyone who has watched my Metal Vault videos so far. For you thrash metal fans who haven't heard this, listen to it, or you're like, you don't know where to start with thrash metal, I think go with this if you want something more intense and underground and more bands like this, or I think if you want the more in-your-face thrash, this is definitely for you. Absolutely for you. Bloodfeast and Kill for Pleasure. And that is the end of another episode of my Metal Vault. I have another one to do because I'm recording this today on Sunday. This will be out on Tuesday. So when you see this, it will be Tuesday. And of course, the next one is going to be coming this Saturday, which I'll either record Thursday or Friday when I have a chance to do so. I'm going to probably think Thursday morning I'll do it then. And of course, it'll be out Saturday. And going through my list of episodes, I have quite a lot here actually. Yeah. So I got episodes 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 already lined up. Still need to do 17, 18, 19, 20, so on and so forth. I'm still going to do this video series because I've, of course, been looking through my collection and thinking, I got a lot of albums from the 80s and 90s. You know, being absolute classic, like those that people will know, and those who are like, well, I don't know that. That's why I show these albums, because they're just ones that people need to know about. You love your metal, you love your raw underground metal. This band, and you know, and Carbonize, like I showed him one of my earlier episodes of this, and you know, stuff like Fear Factory, Solving a Machine, that album, that's an absolute banger as well. Again, I say that quite a lot, and it's a word that always comes to mind when I think of that. It's a banger of an album. This is, and the other albums I will be showing you in later episodes. And I just can't get enough of those old school albums that either came out before I was born or came out after I was born. And, you know, and for all you hot, you know, veterans out there that would have heard these albums back in the day, and you listen to it again, it'll bring you back to that time. And of course, you're probably thinking to yourself, I haven't seen that album in years, and you watch this video and you see it and you think, wow, I haven't seen that in years, I haven't listened to it in years, I'm going to put it on. And that's what it's all about. We either discovering new bands or rediscovering a band that you haven't listened to in years. For you newcomers, it's a band that you're like, well, got a new band to listen to, let's get going. So thank you very much for tuning in to my Metal Vault. I've been Jake and Jake's Metal Chat. Keep that banner of metal held high, and I'll see you all in the next one.